you a leaky faucet?
But why am I a leak? Why? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
But it was for a specific reason.
Because someone wanted to annoy their significant other and left the faucet just slightly on.
Damn, you think I'm a malicious leaky faucet?
Yeah.
Oh, I was because the person whose house it was, friends stopped by randomly, which like never happens.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, you want to go up to your roof and hang out?" And they're like, "Yeah, hey, I need some water." And just forgot to turn the faucet all the way off. So much more innocent.
Innocent, but still shitty.
No,
Just turn the faucets all the way off. Save that water.
Okay, yeah, true, but also it was an accident.
Yeah. And I wasn't calling you a malicious leaky faucet. I was calling your impression a malicious leaky faucet.
Can you do that?
No.
I don't even think I can really do it.
You're way better at
I
it.
can kind of.
It's pretty good. I cannot even attempt to do it.
Here's a better impression. This is someone noticing the faucet's leaky and turning it off. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh. That's it. There you go.
You dumb.
I'm real dumb.
This dumb person is Mr. Sean Patton.
And that incredibly smart person who hates leaky faucets because she's so green is Caitlin Cook.
Hello. Welcome to 5 Words, the podcast.
What is that what this is?
Yeah.
What? Wait, 5 words. What does that mean? How do you explain that?
Basically, it's a game that we like to play.
Who, us?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fill me in on this game.
Okay. Way to set it up in a totally genuine way. This is a game we like to play. We started playing it when someone would come up to us, like a friend, not a rando, at a bar, usually, and was like, "Hey, I got a crazy story," or "This crazy thing just happened." We'd be like, "Hold up. Tell us 5 keywords of what just happened. We're going to try and guess what just happened." And so that's what we do with our guests. They come on, we shoot the shit. They tell us 5 keywords of the story that they're going to tell. We try and figure out what the story is. We nail it.
All right.
Nail it.
We do. Okay.
And then they tell us the real story.
See, that's awesome. I'm glad we've been doing this for, this is like, okay, so this is
We've
what we've been doing.
for over a year now.
Okay, that's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
I figured. But that's the thing. I find the good in everything, but that also means I also don't look for praise. Does that make sense?
What?
So to me, it's just like, oh, we've been doing this awesome thing that people listen to, but I don't know. Are we really even doing it? You know?
No.
Yeah. Is any of this real? Is anything real anymore?
Nothing is real. We've gone crazy.
No, I'm back now.
But I really enjoyed our guest this week. I didn't know him at all. I'd never met him, and Sean has known him for a very long time. And he had maybe the longest, but still most entertaining story we've had on the podcast.
Oh yeah, very, very in-depth story, but also
really
just
great story.
A very in-depth human being.
Yeah.
The longtime buddy of mine, Dr. Chris Garcia. I call him, if I love someone, I call them a doctor.
If you love someone, they've upgraded.
Yeah. Dr.
to a PhD
Chris Garcia is just a fantastic human being. And I hadn't had a chance. We didn't even get to talk about the last time I saw him.
When was the last time you saw him?
In Michigan, the Laugh Festival, 2018. Right before we left to go to Australia.
Damn.
So it was like, I saw him, then I went to LA for a week to meet up with you, and then we got on a long-ass flight to Melbourne. So, but yeah, Chris is an awesome dude, and seriously, has always been, like, he's a guy, if I had to put one of my friends in charge of the world right now, if everybody just got exhausted, I was like, all right, fuck it, fuck Trump. Everybody sucks. Fine, people who think Black Lives Matter. Who do you think should be in charge? Let's say Chris Garcia.
Yeah.
Put him in charge of stuff because he's a balanced-minded gentleman. Minded gentleman.
In the episode, we do talk about a moment where he de-escalated a very crazy situation.
So maybe I just make him police chief because what about? I mean, I am of the opinion that we should let a woman take a crack at.
Yeah, I was going to say, how about if someone's going to run the shit, how about it's a person of color that's a woman?
I'm all right. I mean, if that's the case, Sam J. Hell yeah.
Yes. I mean,
she'll be on episode 75. But anyway, just saying, but Chris is a fantastic dude and great story, great catch up. And just a he's got a great story on This American Life.
Mm-hmm.
I almost got This American Life.
This is America Life.
Yeah, I almost got This American Life and This Is Not Happening confused. Like, this is not American Life.
I like
it's happening.
I mean, I would never make a parody of Donald Glover's This America because it's become like quite a protest song. But it would be pretty funny to do it. This is America and Life.
I mean, there will be one day. They'll be like, this is Antarctica.
Oh, sure.
You know, and then they'll be like,
Do you remember that parody
this is Papua New Guinea
that I showed you that was like, this is a cucumber.
Oh, yeah,
This is water.
And they'll be like, this is New Zealand. We ain't got no COVID, yo. We ain't got no COVID, yo. We contract traced everyone, yo. Yeah. Cops don't carry guns. People like to have fun. Like it's so. But no, this interview was awesome. Chris is an awesome dude.
He's an awesome dude.
And first time I ever visited San Francisco, hung out with him. But you'll hear all about that. Yeah. Give it a listen.
Definitely. And also, we should just say real quick that we haven't been promoting shows because we're pretty busy protesting, and a lot of the shows that we normally have weekly are suspended for the time being because it just feels silly to promote that. Yeah. But if you want some comedy, go find some black comedians to listen to that are super funny. Listen to Sean's album, Scuttlebutt. Listen to my album if you like musical comedy. And enjoy this episode. Okay, bye-bye.
So Caitlin, I realized the two of you have never met, and I was telling Caitlin, and I don't even know if you knew this, the first time I ever visited the Bay Area ever in my life, I stayed with you. That time.
Is it that time for Sketchfest?
Yeah, for Sketchfest. In 2010, that was a couple of first times. It was the first time I ever took a direct flight. I shit you not. Like, every other flight I had taken in my life up until that point, I always had a layover because I always booked them fucking super cheap and super last minute. And I think Sketchfest, I don't think they paid me, but I think they paid for my flight maybe.
Oh, yeah. Sounds right.
It was the first time I ever was like, and I was nervous being like, I'm going to be in the air for 5.5 hours. This is insane. And also, it was the first time I'd ever been to San Francisco, and it was such a fantastic week for so many purposes. One, you lived at the time in the Mission District. I remember that.
Yeah.
And it was the Mission District 2010. So it wasn't, gentrification had already kind of got its grip on it, but it wasn't what it is now, where you have like.
It was still fun. It was still manageable. Yeah. It was the sweet spot of gentrification, where it was still good. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Like buildings weren't being bought up by tech fucking giants yet for weekend playhouses. Yeah. That was awesome. So that was my first, imagine that. It's like the first time you visit a city, you go and immediately set up shop in the coolest part of town at the time.
Yeah.
Right? And it was like, this is amazing. And Sketchfest was fun. And then I always like to tell this little tale. It was myself and I'm not going to say her last name, but Carrie, who I still see from time to time. She lives in Vegas now. There was, and a couple other people were all staying at your house. And I remember there were 3 of us sleeping in your living room at once. And she was one of them. And one night I woke up to her sobbing loudly. And I was like, what? And she just goes, can you roll over or something, or just sleep on your stomach or something? Because I snore.
So bad.
And had been snoring for nights on end. Oh, it was her and Carl Hess.
Carl, yeah.
Carl.
Is this a different story from the one where someone accidentally left their glasses? Do you have multiple stories of people sobbing because you're snoring?
Stories of snoring people.
I've definitely sobbed because I couldn't sleep. No, that's not true. But I've definitely yelled at you and pushed you.
Many times. I have the bruises to prove it. And she was, and at the time, I didn't realize how bad I snored. So I'm sorry. Yeah, sure. And then the next day, Chris, being the good fucking soul that he is, goes, hey, man, tonight, sleep in my bed. I'm going to sleep in the living room with everyone else. Because Carl can just turn his brain off and fall asleep. We all know that about Carl. Well documented thing. And Carrie is like, I'm going to sleep in the room with them, so you can have pride. I was like, oh, thanks, man. And what do I do to repay Chris? I wet the bed.
No. No.
He peed the bed. But he manned up. I was sleeping on my own living room floor, and I look up, and Sean's standing there. He's like, I did it. I pissed your bed. And he was holding my sheets. He's like, I'm going to do the laundry. Don't worry about it. And he did. It's like he'd done it before. He just had all my sheets. He had all my sheets like in a pile. And he was like, I'll do the laundry. And I just want to tell you straight up, I pissed your bed. I'm not going to flip over the mattress.
Yeah. I'm not going to hide it from you. I'm going to go get some Febreze. Oh, yeah.
Such a Sean move. Make someone sob through snoring, and then someone does you a favor, and then you pee their bed.
Oh, yeah.
Double down. No good deed goes unpunished. But I've forever respected you for that, because you manned up, and then you straight up were like, anyone else, it's happened to me before. Comics will stay at your place, and they'll pee a couch, and they'll flip over the cushions. But you were the first one to be like, oh, yeah, I peed the bed, and I'll handle it.
I can, thank you, but I can only say that comes from trial and error. From so many times of just straight up, like as a kid, like with aunts and uncles and shit, like just like they let me sleep on the sofa bed with my cousin, because we watch a movie and fall asleep. And then the next day, I'm like, all right, I'm going to wait till they go to the bathroom, and I'm just going to fold up the couch, and they'll never notice. They'll just think it's like a nice thing. Because I was at the time being like 11, not realizing like, hey, that piss is just going to fester and smell, and eventually they're going to have to throw out the whole goddamn thing.
Oh, that's kid piss. There's Otter Pops in there. It's slushies. It's not good. That's pizza roll piss right there. That is not drinking water and vegetables.
Yeah. And I can also say that that particular bedwetting episode was inspired by a raucous night of drinking out in San Francisco's. Hopefully one day it'll get less rich and awesome again. But because it's one of the funnest cities to drink in.
Oh, it was so fun. I remember we went to Zeitgeist, this outdoor like beer garden, and then we ended up in the park. Do you remember this? We went into the park.
Dude, that is a situation that I think should be just filmed as its own movie. Because what's that park called?
Dolores Park. Okay,
so if you know Chris Garcia at all, if you know his comedy, you've got an awesome story on all things on what is it? This American Life. Yeah. You're known, I think, in general, has this like sweet, like non-temperamental, just nice guy, just fucking friendly face. Just, hey man, you need a shoulder to cry on? Chris Garcia's got one right there, and he's got another one for you to cry on. He's got two shoulders for you to cry on. But we go to this park at night to get fucking wasted more and smoke weed, just hang out. And there's some kid, and I say kid in the sense that he was probably like 18 or 19, but he was also like 6'2" and in shape, right? And this kid was whacked out of his fucking gourd. He said numerous different substances. At one point, I think he said ecstasy. Then at one point, he maybe mentioned cocaine. He was just completely out of his fucking mind and alone and being like aggressive towards us. And it was like me, Chris, two other guys, and then like a few girls. And it was a crew of us, but we were all sort of like, holy shit. And Chris the whole time is trying to talk to the guy, right? You're talking to the guy. You're talking him down. You're trying to you develop somewhat of a rapport with this kid, and he kind of backs down. You make him laugh, and he's cool. And then you say one thing that I don't even remember what it was, but it set him off, and he tackled you to the ground.
What?
You tackled me.
Tackled you to the ground. And I remember the moment you hit the ground, the rest of us, a bunch of fucking noobs, were like, we should do something. And I remember you from the ground with your hand going, no, it's fine. Chill. And you like talk to the kid, not only like he was like, you remember, he's like got you by the shirt. He's like, what do you fucking say? Like yelling,
like straddling me like MMA style.
Yeah, dude. And you like talked him off of you, and then like I think you talked him into going home.
I did.
I think by like the end of the conversation, yeah, no, I got to go home. Like, you should be a cop. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's what people don't understand, all this defund police. It's like, no, defund them and make them this.
De-escalate the situation.
Yeah. Like that, like you were 100% in your right to freak the fuck out for your life.
It was so wild. He was sitting down with me and I was like, hey, are you Tongan? And he was like, yeah, I'm Tongan. I was like, oh, I know this kid named Phil who's Tongan. And I was just like chatting him up as he's like on top of me like this. And I was like, oh man, seems like you're having a fun night. Are you on Molly? I was like, I've never reacted to Molly like this, but I don't know. And I was just talking to him and he was just like, all of a sudden he was like, okay, man. And I think we hugged. I think I gave him a hug.
You definitely hugged.
He came out of the Muni like tunnel. It was like this weird thing, and then he went back into this tunnel. Like it was like almost like a subway tunnel. Like he went back into the tunnel and disappeared. And we're like, okay, well that was weird, but I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I think I probably just got back from Burning Man or something, and I was extra hippied out, and I was like, it's mellow, dude. Just like, it's all good. You're just having a night. I'm not trying to fight you. And
dude,
then,
it was insane.
Like a pet bear just walked away.
Yeah, but I bet also like you might have like implanted the idea in that guy's head to just be cool. You know how like when you're super fucked up like that on any substance, even just alcohol, if you have like the wrong kind of interaction, it fucks the rest of the experience.
Oh, sure, for sure.
You know, and that was one like, that's what I'm saying, dude. Like that was like by every standard, the guy came out of nowhere. The guy was physically probably in better shape than any of us had ever been.
For sure.
Like this kid was seriously like, oh, if he's a starting tight end for his high school football team, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
He was a strapping lad, and then he not like fell into you and hugged your way to the ground, like leapt at you like a
straight up.
Like a tiger, like a goddamn Bengal tiger, and took you to the ground. It was like a oh shit moment, and you were like, it was and that was the thing. I didn't know you super duper well this time. Like this week, I think I stayed with you. We knew each other through comedy.
Yeah.
But like that week, I remember leaving, being like, dude, Chris Garcia is the ace, bro. Like, from then on out, I was always like, no, Chris Garcia is top dog. Like, don't like. Anybody you don't know him. If you know him more. And
that's how I felt about you peeing my bed. So the
feeling, yeah, exactly. But
he
just
peed bed, but he peed it like a man. He did it with dignity, bro.
Yeah. It was. I can't remember the timeline, but if it happened after the event at the park, I like to think that was my reaction, just delayed. Like, look, man, I peed the bed because I would have done the same thing had that guy tackled me. Only I would have
peeing for you.
I would have pissed the park. But that park, see, that's why every time I've been back to the Bay, the San Francisco specifically in the past couple of years, it's such a goddamn bummer because I remember Dolores Park, right? You said? I remember the day when we went there earlier that day.
Oh yeah,
just like magical. And like Caitlin's a big love because Caitlin's from California. She's from LA.
Oh, cool.
And her brother lives up in the Bay, but like we've spent a lot of time in San Francisco, and it's like you walk around that city and you get to like even like where the what's the part where the club is, where the Punchline is.
Oh yeah, like the financial district and stuff.
Even that shit's beautiful in its own way, and like that pier, and like you walk. I mean, even what's the neighborhood I stayed in that one time? That the Richmond. It isn't that. Yeah, but it isn't like there's not a ton of crazy shit going on, but it's like it's still beautiful. And that park, it's all the way on the west side where Outside Lands is.
Golden Gate Park.
Yeah.
Yes, that park is
magical.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And last time I was in San Francisco was last year, June. In fact, probably a year ago exactly, June of 2019. I was there for Clusterfest, and I know that's like in the middle of the city, but like we would walk around every night or before or after going to the fest, and it was like, man, it's fucking psycho when you're in one bar and there's a bunch of 24-year-old execs expense accounting, tequila flavored bourbon. It's tequila flavored bourbon flights.
Oh,
Let me
God,
get 6
it's
of
so
these.
gross.
And then right outside, there's like an actual family, living under a tarp.
Oh yeah, it's
you know what I mean? Where you're just like, how is it so? The disparity is so. I don't know. It's insane.
It used to be the cool city where all the weirdos would go. Like if you were in Ohio and you were trans and you were hated, you're like, oh, come out to San Francisco. If you're a hippie and you want to grow weed or whatever you want to do, it was like this utopia for people, just for strays to come and feel at home. And I think the texture just kind of like, we went by my old place and there was 2 Teslas parked in front, and it used to be just like families and stuff. And our rent when we left was like $2,500 in 2012, maybe $3,000.
At that place was $2,500.
Yeah, or maybe 3, but it went up to 8,000 after, and they didn't even fix it. It's so crazy, but it's still funny because like all that stuff is. Last time I was there, I was like all pissed off, and I was like, kicking over all the Lime scooters and just like all mad. And then inevitably, of course, I see a fucking piece of shit inside of a hollowed out watermelon. And I was like, still got it, baby. There's still remnants of San Francisco here.
Yeah.
There's fucking street doo-doo, dirty Bart.
Doing a watermelon. That's great. The last time I was in San Francisco was for Sketchfest this past year. It was like one of the last cities I like went out in before all the shit hit the fan. But I saw a little bit of that.
Before the shit in the watermelon hit the fan?
Yeah, I do mean that. Before someone Gallagher'd the shit watermelon? I don't know. Anyway, I was hanging out. I was staying with some friends. I forget what neighborhood that they lived in, but they are a lesbian couple. And they took me to like a lesbian couple's engagement party. So it's just like a shit ton of San Francisco lesbians. And then they took me to the only lesbian-owned bar in the country that also only uses like lesbian-created liquors and like only like lesbian wait staff and like just like this bastion of like the LGBTQIA community. And I was like, this is like just clutching at the last bastion of San Francisco weirdness, but at the same time, drinks are super expensive.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that lesbian churned kombucha vodka.
it was really like that. It was like $20 a shot.
Yeah.
For kombucha vodka. Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing about a lot of these bars like that. Like, I'm 1,000% willing to pay more if I know for sure.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I did. Because shit's expensive there anyway, so I was like, might as well be supporting, a minority community. So
at least you could still get a $3 beer there, which is great. But like, I was scared that it was all going to become vodka infused, whatever. But it's like, you could still go to shitty dive bars and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like you see these blonde 25-year-old execs wearing flip-flops. You're like, you're wearing flip-flops in this fucking neighborhood? Say hello to AIDS. You're going to get AIDS real bad. It's like, it's crazy. But
it's also fucking psycho when you think about like what got it there, in the sense that like it's all the side effect of the valley, the tech boom of tech becoming so goddamn successful that they just look north and were like, well, let's just take that, let's just buy it, like a guy I went to high school with. I don't really keep in touch with him, but I keep in touch with like his brother. So I went to high school with both 2 guys I went to high school with, brothers. One of them I still talk to, and one of them I don't really, but I know he is a doctor, and I know his wife is a doctor, and I know they just sold and they got out of San Francisco because they couldn't afford it. Like last year, it was like for 2 doctors, they were like, shit's just ridiculous. Like ridiculous. Like, and I'm sure they could afford it. Like, when I say that, people are like, oh, so doctors can't, what are you saying?
Yeah,
I'm saying, but they don't hemorrhage 6 figures a year on their shelter.
It's crazy. And then people have been pushed out of Oakland, and then Oakland's too nice now. It's a disease.
My brother lives in Oakland, and he and his wife just bought a house in San Jose because they were like, we gotta get out of this main area.
San Jose.
I know.
This shit sucks. But that's what you got to do. Like my friend moved to Pittsburgh, not PA, but Pittsburgh, California, which is the last stop on the BART train. And like he and his wife are lawyers, and they're living like they could barely live anywhere in the Bay. They like do well, and they can't live anywhere. It's a shame. I have hope it'll come back, and if not, I feel really blessed to have lived there between the two tech bubbles. Like there was the '90s tech bubble. I lived in San Francisco. I lived in the Bay Area since '97 or '8 or something for college, and then lived in San Francisco from like 2004 to 2012 or whatever. But that was just the perfect time to live there. You know, things were still cheap. My first rent in the city for a 2-bedroom was $750 or something like that. Like it was really cheap, and I just had so much fun there. And if anything, I got to live there when fucking Obama became president, and that was a party in the streets when you know the Giants won the World Series. All these amazing moments I got to live there for, and I was like, well, at least I got that time.
Yeah.
Tech ruined it, you know.
I mean, San Francisco was so, and I'm not saying it isn't anymore. I'm sure it still is, but it was so important for comedy in like the aughts and teens. It was such a, like, every San Francisco comic was fucking awesome. Like, you look at, like, Ali Wong. Ali's huge. And, like, it's like, Ali's a San Francisco comic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's where the first time I saw her. Then she moved to New York. But she was only in New York for, like, 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, we started the same month in 2000, like, just summer 2005 or whatever. Yeah. But the thing is good, you know, it's like Patton Oswalt came through. Yeah. Dana Gould, Madrigal, Kamal, Guy Branum, Moshe. Like, there's just like a lot of different voices. Hassan Minhaj. Like, you wouldn't expect that these are the same. You wouldn't expect they were from the same place. Sometimes you're like, well, some scenes they have the same vibe, and you're like, okay, this person. A lot of you know, there's a vibe, but San Francisco is all over the place because since there's no industry there and it's kind of a weird town, we were all just kind of ourselves, which is cool.
Yeah, I think, but when I think of like you and Moshe and Weinbach and like all that fucking oh God, I'm an asshole because I can't remember right now. Mary
Van Note.
Mary Van Note.
Oh yeah.
I don't know where she is now. She fucking cracked me up so hard. But like the whole, like, I mean, you know, and then like, of course, like the staple, like Kamal, I know he's back in San Francisco, I believe. Oh
yeah. Kamal's back there. Yeah.
I know there's people who'll never leave, but like, it was always such a fun scene too, because then you also had outliers, and like an outlier in the San Francisco comedy scene was like a Ryan Stout.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Who's funny? Ryan Stout's very funny, but you would but it's stylistically he's very like East Coast almost.
Yeah, he was like a late night host. He even wore a suit. He was 22 years old wearing suits at an open mic and doing really well. But then you also got Louis Katz. You got Shang Wang.
Yeah. Shang Wang. Louis Katz. Yeah, people forget like
Louis an SF guy. They think he's so New York or maybe even originally from LA, but he started in the Bay. And to my generation, I started in 2005. He's kind of the guy that we all looked at as how you do comedy professionally, because I think he got new faces 2 or 3 years in, and he just always worked all day, wrote new stuff, and we're like really good friends. And I'm like, I always tell him like, you're the dude that Ali, Moshe, all these people we all learned from watching Louis, and I think that's why he's respected in New York, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah, love Louis. But yeah, Louis seems like he's from the Catskills.
Yeah.
Like he is from a Henny Youngman joke in the Catskills.
For sure.
You know what I mean? That's where Louis is from. He's from a riff.
He's classic comedy.
Yeah, at a post-brisk adult. But like, yeah, like that's, I don't know, like that's, I feel like, I don't know if there is a San Francisco in the comedy scene right now.
I don't know, man. I know SF is, I'll love it forever, but it is weird because it's so expensive to live there that the comedians are now tech people doing comedy as a hobby. So I saw some dude be like, he came out doing comic. I'm not saying he was a comic, but he was on the show that I was on. But he was like, well, when people find out I'm a programmer, they think I have money. And then I tell them I work for Yahoo. And then the whole crowd's like, you would think it was like Chappelle's most killer joke. Everyone was like, ah. I was like, fucking burn it down, you guys. This
Oh my
is
God.
a fucking Google campus. But like people are doing like jokes about, when you forget your lanyard and your cube. And I'm like, oh God. Fucking
Yeah.
Rolly suitcase gets stuck on a pebble. These
Dude,
fucking nerds.
that's fucking funny that you say that because I cannot remember the guy's name because I don't think I ever got the dude's name. I just know that it was the first joke I ever heard the first time I ever set foot in the San Francisco Punchline, which was that week. He was already on stage when we walked in, but it was I remember it so vividly because it was, people say white men can't jump. And to that, I say, go to the Golden Gate Bridge. It was one of these jokes where you're like, fuck. You're like, that is such a like, whoo.
Yeah.
And then Chris Thayer. I remember then you see Chris Thayer go on stage.
Oh,
And
thanks.
love Chris. And like you see that guy go on stage and you're like, what? And it's like, not that Chris is the most bizarre out there comedian, but you know what I mean? Like, but he was like that, I don't know, man, like that there is that sort of abstract absurdity to what he does. And like, I don't know, I used to love that whenever I was in the town. You go like Sunday, like Sunday, one time I co-headlined Cobb's with Chris Porter, which made 0 sense.
That's quite a lineup.
Yeah. I mean, Chris is fucking hilarious, but like the two of us at Cobb's at a 300-seater, it was like,
Weird.
yeah. But we both went and did that open mic on Sunday. Like and that was
the Sunday show
more fun. That was the most fun we had all weekend, was that show, seeing all these other comics, and they were all fucking hilarious. And then Kevin Shea walks in, drunk. Kevin Shea is very funny, very drunk. But and then like Al, then like being there and like, oh, Al Madrigal is in town and he's gonna go up and actually try out new stuff and it's gonna be fucking hilarious. Anyway, so I feel like that's a thing that comedy's dealing with in general, where it's like everyone's just trying to make it, but no one's trying to actually be good at it first. And that's what I used to love about San Francisco, was like in that scene, it seemed like making it meant proving you were funny to everyone.
Yeah, that's all we had, because we had no one.
Yeah.
There was no managers. There's barely. Maybe Montreal would come by once a year, or they'd come by to try to get new people for premium blend or something. But like there weren't even really podcasts out. And like, so it wasn't like, podcasts made everyone think they could do comedy and stuff. And so did those early, I feel like the Chappelle show, and then those half hours with like Dane Cook, that created a whole new wave of comedian. But it wasn't like, we weren't watching YouTube all the time. We weren't inundated with clips. We were just doing comedy just because we wanted to be comedians or whatever. And it felt really pure before like the Instagram and the, social media and stuff. And in San Francisco, to be apart from the industry in general, I was like, I just want to make Guy Branum laugh. Like, I just want Louis' respect. Like, and that's all we had. And then because of that, we all wanted to be ourselves. Like these days, you'll see a lot of people doing like, oh, I love Caper Lance so much, but everyone's like, I'm Caper Lance, or I do, like everyone's picking up these affectations from each other. But like, in SF, if you did that, you're out. Like if you were just a little bit like somebody else, you're like, oh, you're ripping somebody off. Or some people start off and they're like, when people start off and they're like straight up imitating someone, and there'd be people that are like Attell, and you'll be like, he's doing Attell. This guy sucks. Do yourself, even if you're bad. Like Weinbach was notoriously so terrible at comedy for the first year and a half or 2 years. Like no laughs, creeps everyone out because it's Weinbach. Yeah, I'm not saying anything about that. He's a weirdo. He smells his chairs before he sits down, like the boy ain't right. It seems like he was like molested by a mannequin or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
But then everyone was like, but no one like shunned him. Everyone was just like, okay, he's doing something different. And then like one day it just changed, and then he was like absolutely brilliant. And then he was a cool guy around town. But like people gave him the benefit of the doubt because he wasn't really doing anyone else's shtick. Everyone's like, okay, well, we'll wait. Same with Alex Cole was super weird. Some super weirdos come through there, and then they stick through it, and then they come out all right, you know.
You remember? I remember Weinbach used to do this bit where he would make out with his knee. And then, and he would do it, and it wasn't just like 2 seconds. He would like make out with his knee for like a minute, and then look at the audience like they were intruding on a moment. And then be like, "Oh, do you think my knee's weird?" And then he would stick out his super long tongue and be like, "Do you still think it's weird?" And it was just such a moment where like, you're not gonna just figure that out in 2 months.
Oh no,
that's not material you're going to discover by trying to figure out your brand.
No,
your brand finds you. You know what I mean? Like that's just the thing now. And like I don't know. Like,
that's hilarious. He's so great.
Yeah, he's awesome. He has a giraffe-like tongue. It is so crazy. It's probably like 5 or 6 inches long. It is wild.
Yeah,
it's so crazy.
I remember Brent Weinbach and Mary Van Note were in New Orleans once, right? And we were doing a show, and the venue had like promised me money for a hotel for the two of them, and then kind of fucked me last minute. So my sister was like a big comedy fan. She knew who Brent was. She's like, this was in like 2000 and early 2000 and like maybe 2009 or 10. It was a while back. But she was like, they can stay with me. It's fine. And she like set up a couch and a cot. And at first Brent was like super weird about it, but then like immediately was fine. And we were there for 4 nights. And then on the last night, the shows had made enough money to where like one of the other comics hooked up a hotel situation, and we got them like a really nice hotel room for very cheap. I was like, hey guys, for your last night in town, you get to have this amazing hotel room. Sorry, it didn't happen earlier. And Brent was like, no. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? What? And he's like, I'm very comfortable at your sister's house. I'm not.
Is that Aaron's or Lisa's?
Yeah, my sister Aaron. And even Mary was like, well, I mean, dude, but it's a hotel room. He's like, no. I'm staying. I'm very comfortable at your sister's house. And it was like, all right, Mary, do you want the hotel room? I think she said no, but I think she said it just to not make Brent feel like he was a weirdo for it. She's like, no, I'm fine too. But it was very like, it just seemed like no. And he was like sleeping on her couch, you know what I mean? In like a hot ass New Orleans old shotgun style apartment with like AC that didn't really work because the ceilings are too high.
Yeah.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine sweating and sleeping on the couch. I'm comfortable now.
The last time I saw Brett, he was in New York doing Max and Nikki's show at the Under St. Mark's Theater. And I ran into him on the way there because I was running tech for the show. And there was like a little restaurant above that serves like Vietnamese rice balls or something. And he had like 2 in his hands and was trying to have a conversation with me, but could not focus because he was like, these are so good. Like, should I go back and get a third? And then we just had like about a half hour of a conversation where he was like eating them and deciding if he wanted another one. Yeah. And they were like pretty large too.
What a guy. I love Brett.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's totally a good dude. He's like a big kid.
I mean, I love like, but I guess that's the whole thing in general is like cities like San Francisco circa 1990 to 2012 need to exist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like more, there needs to be more, because some cities are just never going to be that. Like Houston, Texas has its neighborhoods that are pretty cool. Montrose is great. But then like, it's never going to be the city, you know what I mean? Like there's never going to be a city that like San Francisco was. The first time I visited, which was late in the game, I hear stories of like, you know, like Marin tells stories and Patton has stories about living there in the fucking mid 90s. Where it's like, dude, it sounded like a goddamn.
Dean Del Rey's stories about San Francisco back then are bonkers.
Female what?
Dean Del Rey's.
Oh yeah, Dean Del Rey. He had some stories about.
He lived there.
Yeah, tuning fucking Hendrix's guitar in the '60s while living in goddamn Lower Quasadejo. Quasadejo is what we used to call it, man. I don't even know what it's called now. But I was there simultaneously, man, and then I realized I wasn't. I was just on Haight-Ashbury. And what? But also, yes. Also, yes.
Yeah, you need a playing ground, you know? You just need an idealistic place where you can just go and live an artist life and throw a bunch of shit at the wall and see what sticks. And that's San Francisco is, and it's fun, and it used to be fun and cheap and weird. That's what you want.
Yeah, it is kind of poetic though that the city's become what it's become, but it only exists because of a gold rush.
I know, it's weird.
It's like they found gold hundreds of years later, and it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks that they found the gold.
Yeah.
You wish they were still just looking for. It's almost like you don't ever want to find the gold. You just want to always be looking and know it's there, and every now and again get a piece of it. That
tiny piece.
That gives you the means to live and be happy, but never too much to where you're
Too
like,
much. You just want the pursuit and some satisfaction from it, but not the whole thing. The whole thing, that's where evil comes from. When you got all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always climb, but never get to the peak.
Yeah.
That's all right. So so let's get into the story.
Let's get into it. I have to look at my words again. Okay.
Well, Chris, the words, your 5 words are toilet, common, leprechaun, ropes, and missile. So knowing you, like I know not that long ago, you were in the market for a house. Here's what so I'm thinking, but also knowing you're a happy guy and you found a house and you bought that fucker right there on the spot. You're like, you know what? This is it, the dream, buying a house. But you didn't notice.
It's entirely feasible to do, by the way. You can totally buy a house on the spot. Definitely.
Yeah.
They call him Chris Cash Garcia.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But you didn't notice, of course, in your haste to buy the house that it was just missing a toilet. One of the bathrooms, no toilet at all. So now you're also in the market for a toilet. So you head to a Lowe's.
Your local Lowe's, and you find the toilet aisle, you're looking for kind of toilet that you want, and someone else enters the aisle from the other side, and they're walking forward, and you're like, that is kind of familiar. And then you realize it's motherfucking Common. For a toilet.
Right? Chicago's own Common the Rapper. Now, you're playing it cool, because this is LA, you've been around celebrities before, but we also know you're a massive Common fan. And it turns out you're both looking at one type of toilet, a brand called Pot of Gold, right?
A little leprechaun logo
right
on it.
And you're like, is Common shopping for a toilet too? So you, with your comedic skill, just hit him with a, look what we found at the end of the rainbow. You hit him with a little Irish leprechaun accent, made him laugh. Common laughs at this, so you keep going because you're a comic, and you're like, say, I didn't think the pot of gold would be something you'd want to flush. You're just, it's hilarious. Like, I can't do it justice. You crush your
I lived it, yeah.
And Common's fucking dying laughing, right? And then finally, he's like, man, you know what? You're funny, man. You're funny. You should be a comedian. You're like, dog, that's what I am. And then Common, one of the most successful rappers of time. He's like, you know what? I've kind of always wanted to try comedy. Could you show me the ropes? Right?
Yeah. And you're like, yeah, motherfucker, I can. Actually, tonight there's like a show that's like half booked, half open mic. Like, do you want to go? And he gets really excited. And he's like, yes, man, thank you so much. And also, like, let me just buy this toilet for you. So he buys you this toilet.
He's a good guy, Common, you know?
Wow.
Right?
He buys you this toilet. You drop it off at home. You're so excited. You head to the show / open mic. And what happens?
Well, you bomb because you let yourself, we all do it, you let yourself get in your head that Common the Rapper was there because you were showing him the ropes to do comedy. And you just, you eat so much shit, it would never fit in that toilet, right? You bomb so bad that you refer to it as the missile. Because it was worse than a bomb.
It blew up a whole city,
And every time you shit on your toilet, you're reminded of Common. Because you paid for that toilet, and you're reminded of the time you missiled in front of him. And this is what, from time to time, when you're like, I don't know, man, it's comedy. Can I get any funnier? You shit down while you're on the toilet. You're like, yeah, I can. I got it, because one time I missiled in front of Common. So,
and that's the story. And a tiny dog walks behind you during the end of that story. And I got
That's a great story. Solid beginning, middle, and end. Way to throw the ability of me buying a house, which is nowhere near completely true. Started on shaky ground just based on that premise that I'm not just totally on unemployment like the rest of everybody. But that's good. You tied it in very swiftly. I think you did a great job. Not even close to what actually happened.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
Wait, what actually happened?
Yeah, we want to know.
It's a San Francisco story, actually, from right around the time we met, Sean. I was dating a woman, and I felt like it was on the rocks, and I could tell, it was the common symptom. She was cranky, very irritable, distant. I looked at her phone when she was in the shower, and she said to her friend that she wanted to dump me because I was starting to look like a fat Peter Dinklage. I was gaining weight, and I flip out, right? I'm like, oh shit, I gotta lose weight. I gotta get this woman back. I really like her. It's very fun telling this story right next to my wife, but no, who is not the same woman. But anyway, I was like, I gotta lose weight. So immediately I was like, I'm gonna do the master cleanse. So I did the thing where I drank orange juice with cayenne pepper and some sort of maple syrup for 10 weeks. And so all I did was just basically fucking sit on a toilet and shit myself. I blew up my toilet. I blew up friends' toilets. It was a disaster. And while I was sitting on the toilet, I was looking at the SF Weekly newspaper, and there was an ad for a boxing boot camp, and it was like 6 weeks, like Golden Glove boxers boot camp, 5 days a week, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. The guy on the picture was ripped, and I just straight up fell for it. I show up, and it's these Irish Gold Glove boxers. They look like fucking the fighting leprechauns and shit. They talked it like Bono. They sounded like Bono in reverse. They're just like, oh, like I had no idea what they're saying, but they're like, we're gonna get you ripped. And I straight up started going to this class and getting really into it. And one day in class, they're letting us spar, but you can only punch people in the stomach. It was like no body blow, just body blows and stuff. And so I'm fighting with this guy, 6'2", blonde, like frat boy, just big guy. And we're just boxing, and I'm like hitting him right in the stomach, but he's blocking himself too close to his body. So I'm punching him on his gloves, and then he's punching himself in the dick. So I'm just like, boom, and I hit him in the dick. And he's like, stop hitting me in the dick. I'm like, I'm not hitting you in the dick. Like I am fucking just I'm hitting you in the gloves. You're like guarding yourself too close to your body, and you're hitting yourself in the dick. And I do it again, hits himself in the dick. He punches me in the face. I just start bleeding all over the place. And all of a sudden, we're just like straight up fucking brawling. And the whole class stops. And the Irish coach just stops. And he goes, finally, some fucking boxing in here. And we're just like straight up like going at it, right? And I'm getting super into this. And so while this is going on, I'm paranoid that I'm going to lose my girlfriend and stuff. I'm kind of like still spying on her phone and her Google chat because I don't know. I knew something was up. And so she was like, oh, I think I want to fuck this DJ guy. I'm like, I'm going to see him. Like, I'm going to go out and see him. And I mean, Chris and I are still together, but I just have to fuck this guy. And I was like, whatever, go ahead, fuck that DJ. Probably have fun with bed bugs and shit, right? And then I look him up, and he's beautiful. He looks like fucking Persian common, dude. He's a perfect, like, bald head, like, little facial hair, and he's just so fucking handsome. I was like, fuck this. And I was in such a bad, weak place that from his Facebook, Facebook page, I printed out a picture of him, and I put it in my locker at the boxing gym. As mental leverage, just like for inspiration. And then some gay guy in my class was like, is that your boyfriend? He's beautiful. And I was like, no, it's not my fucking boyfriend. It's my fucking girlfriend's boyfriend, you piece of shit or whatever. And I'm getting all hyped. I keep on boxing. And towards the end of the class, we're like, our coach is like, hey, we're gonna have there's gonna be a fight night to celebrate the end of the class, like they do with improv. Like they'll do like a big performance or whatever. And he's like, we're gonna have ringsider girls. There's gonna be a ref, an announcer. You can invite your friends. It was a way to promote the gym that had just opened, you know. And so he's like, we're not going to tell you who you're boxing until the morning of the fight. So it's like a surprise or whatever. So we're like, okay. And I was like, sign me up. I'm getting really into boxing. I'm getting like fit. I was in the best shape of my life. I had like muscles I had never had before and stuff. And so it's the Friday morning of fight night. And the coach is like, hey, so you're boxing the 6'2" blonde guy. That's who I'm putting you. You guys killed it so much that I just thought we would want to see more of it. And I was like, I don't have a chance. If I got ripped, imagine with this guy who was already ripped where he's gotten. So I'm like, I'm gonna fucking die, right? And so I shave my head. I'm in a weird place. Well, first I call my dad, who's an old Cuban guy who loves boxing. Cubans love boxing. They know everything about boxing. My dad's a big boxing fan. He could box. I'm like, Papi, I'm going to fight this guy tonight at this fight night. He's like, yeah, man, you just bang, 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 you know, just stick and move. Remember, you're left-handed, blah, blah, all this stuff. And I'm like, Papi, he's like 6'2". He's like, oh, yeah, you're going to lose, man. You got no chance, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want to do. Maybe some brujeria, light a candle or something. But you're not going to beat this guy unless you beat him psychologically. Maybe if you get inside his head, he's more scared to lose to you than you are to lose to him. A little guy like you beat him up, that's in the back of his head, man. And I was like, all right, that's makes some sense, right?
Yeah.
And so I straight up shave my head. I show up in my bloody basketball shorts that I never washed from the time we got in the fight. I got blood on my shorts. I wear different colored socks all the way up to my knees. When I get to the gym, I start jumping rope wrong. Like I'm just like pretending like I don't know how to jump rope. And like didn't shower. I smelled all crazy. And then, we get to the fight and it's packed. And like my girlfriend at the time is standing in the window on the street watching from outside, and the ring is right in the window. So she's like looking up. It's like fucking Rocky style, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit. Well, in my head, I've conflated beating this guy up will get her back, and this like weird hero story. So the announcer comes over and he's like, just like a comedy show, he's like, do you want an intro? And I was like, call me the Cuban Missile Crisis. So he's like, in this corner, weighing 175, Chris the Cuban Missile Crisis Garcia. And everyone's like, I'm like, Moshe's there, like my comedy buddies are there. So as soon as I see Moshe, I was like, if I lose, now my comedian buddy is going to shit on me for the rest of my life. Like the stakes kept on getting higher and higher. Like I'm just going to get roasted. And then, my coach pulls me aside and he's like, all right, man, I put you in here because I knew you could beat this guy up. You're left-handed. He's right-handed. You kind of have an advantage in a weird way. Just keep your right foot on the outside of his outside foot and just duck him and just pound him in the stomach. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And so the other thing my dad told me is like, when you get in the ring and they're going to ask you to knock gloves, don't knock gloves and don't even look at the guy. It'll get in his head. Don't look in his eye. Because if he can look down on you, he's going to have control over you. If you just go like this, he's going to think something's off. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of smart, right? My dad's got some advice. So I go in there and I just don't even knock gloves. And it's like, ding, ding, ding. The fight starts and he just fucking clobbers me in the face. And I'm just like up against the ropes. I'm like hanging onto the ropes. And then I just like jump up and I just like, all the training goes out the window. And I just throwing these fucking haymakers at him. And the referee pulls me aside and he's like, you need to calm down. And I spit my bloody mouth guard out onto the ground and I go, he's fucking bigger than me. The whole crowd, like gladiator style, goes, and I'm like, oh shit. Like as a comedian, you have the crowd on your side. You're like, I have a little bit of hope. And so I fucking jump on him again. And then the ref stops the fight. My coach pulls me over and he's like, buddy, you got this. You could beat him. He's coming in up high. Just duck him. And he's like, chop down the fucking tree and like hit him in the stomach. And so he pushes me into the ropes. He's punching like over my head. So I duck him and I just start like hitting him in the guts. And then I hit him in the gloves and the gloves hit him in the dick. And so he's like, and he gets gets scared again. And I do it again. It hits him in the dick. And he's like, don't. He's like, stop. He's like, I saw the fear in his eyes because I kept on. I don't think he was wearing a cup or whatever like I was. And then he just went like this, and I just fucking clocked him. And then they just stopped the fight. And then I won. Like I beat this guy. They're supposed to go 2 rounds, and I just beat him with like a minute left in the round. And then it was fucking awesome. And then the girl I was dating was like, she was like so turned on. She saw me beat up this big dude, and she was like, oh my God, you've gotten really strong. And she didn't even realize, because I don't think we'd even been fucking at all during that. It's that weird part of the delayed breakup where you're like not even fucking. And then, took her home, showed her what the Cuban Missile Crisis was all about, and then I dumped her. Like a week later, I was like, fuck this. And that was it.
Tables.
I turned the tables. I was like, yeah, because then she was all, oh, you shouldn't have shaved your head. All this stuff. I was like, I'm out of here, dude. I did all this. I beat up Goliath for this. And
I thought you were going to say that dude was the DJ.
Oh, no.
I fucking remixed his face.
Yeah, I remixed it, dude.
Yeah.
No, it was just a different dude. But yeah, just the old San Francisco story that I was like, oh, I should do one. I should do an old story.
I love that. I love the idea. I love the idea that you went full fucking like Travis Bickle.
I did, man. It was crazy. Yeah. I'm like competitive. And also when it comes to sports, I'm competitive. Rocky's my favorite movie. Like all these things, underdog stories, all this stuff came into my head, and I became like psychotic for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever. But during that fight, that day, I was just a fucking lunatic, and but I learned a lot about myself.
Yeah.
You didn't learn anything. That dude who just couldn't figure out how to block his dick.
Yeah, he never learned how to put his arms out.
Block your dick, bro.
He had the advantage, but he lost.
That's fucking crazy. I love the idea. Maybe 2 years ago, I was in Vegas doing the Cellar, and Louis J. Gomez and Ryan O'Neal were like fighting MMA style, like they had like a comedian fight at the Hard Rock Casino.
Whoa!
And it was like we're going. I'm going to see. I want to watch.
Like they were boxing.
They were MMA fighting.
Oh, MMA fighting.
Yeah,
crazy.
Full on, and it was, and they'd both been like, it had started because they like talk shit to. I don't know the exact details, but it was like fake beef. It was like
podcast beef.
Yeah, podcast.
Oh yeah.
And then but they both trained for like a couple months, and actually I remember seeing Louis around New York, and he'd be wearing like rubber suits and shit to like sweat off weight, and I don't know if that's what they're called, rubber suits, but you know what I mean, like this. Like,
the sweatsuits. Yeah.
And but then I went to the fight, and it was so fucking funny because the first round was like lethal. They were beating the shit out of one another, and you're like, damn. And I was the only New York comic there. There were a ton of fucking LA comics, so I tried to turn it into this like New York versus LA thing from like the sideline. But then the second round and beyond, just spaghetti noodles. They were like,
yeah.
It's fighting sucks and it's hard. And the fact that you like were able to still be fighting at the end of the first round says you have impressive stamina.
I mean, I couldn't make it to the second round. Once the adrenaline pops in, you're a fucking maniac. Like your body, I don't know how people go 12 rounds. They are the greatest athletes in the world to be able to do that. But like 2 minutes and you're like spent. You're like totally done, But I think the fear of public humiliation was greater than, my lack of stamina. You just go into another level because you're like, I don't want to lose in front of her. I don't want to lose in front of my comedy buddies. And so you just go into another register or something. I mean, I only did one. I'm undefeated, but
Yeah.
I only did one. Yeah.
Hey, keep that title.
Yeah, undefeated.
But also,
Boxing champ.
what is it? What is? I just want to know what it is about women that want to fuck DJs. Just another thing.
I can't tell you.
It's just such a like. I'm not one of these people who like shits on every DJ.
Yeah.
But like I've been to. I remember like one of my first ever concerts I ever went to ever in life was DJ Hurricane of Beastie Boys. And
That's
it was
amazing.
like, I went to it thinking it was a concert. It was really just, he was DJing a show. But I remember like, just like watching him the whole time at the Varsity in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And it was like, this is amazing. Like, that was a DJ. But then like, but that was like a side gig for him.
Yeah.
When it's like, these fucks who just like DJ and like, it seems to just, I guess the idea of fun. I guess the idea of it's like, they're fun and it's carefree and it's,
Well, I talked to a friend about it, and she said, because it was a hip hop DJ, and it's the DJ, and then there's the MC, and they were a group. But she was like, the MC's fine. They're trying too hard. They're super cool. But the DJ's organized. The DJ knows how to use the equipment, is standing there all smooth while someone else is like jumping around. The DJ's holding it all together.
The DJ is the bassist, basically.
Yeah, holding it all together, making the changes. So I think there's a level of control and responsibility that might.
Well, okay, that kind of DJ, an actual like that disc jockey. Yeah. Yes, I completely understand women wanting to fuck like Grandmaster Flash. But I'm talking about just like the current version of a DJ, the guy who just plugs in the computer, plugs in a laptop, you know what I mean, and just sort of like plays songs we all know. You know what I mean? Like doesn't cut, doesn't mix, doesn't scratch. Just kind of. Because I also was at a party at South by Southwest 2 years ago where fucking Grandmaster Flash was there.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was insane, and it was insane also that all these like. And I hate using the word. I hate like saying millennial like in an insulting way. Just like so I don't like saying hipster. It's like that's done. But like. It was a bunch of millennials who just clearly were like, I don't know who he is. And you're like, he's the guy. But he still had to play like, you know, songs everyone knew and then would cut for like a few, you know, that's what you want to like, that shit's hard. Like scratching with records. And like,
that's crazy.
I don't know, but it seems like the DJ who just plays the track, who just makes fucking set lists or not set lists. What am I trying to say?
Playlist.
Thank you.
It's just an iMac with a haircut. You know what I mean? Like it's just not cool. I don't know what it is. Maybe they're the center of attention or something, but I don't see it either.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you won her back and then dumped her.
Yeah.
It's the best way. That's the best advice you could have for really anyone. It's like for everyone's self-confidence. If you suspect you're getting dumped, win her back first.
And then
win him.
He sounds like a shitty person who wanted to fuck a DJ and cheat on you. So win her back. Do something for you and your body and your mind. Yeah. And then dump her.
And I was single for a while and it was awesome.
Yeah. And now married with a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Settling down.
Where we can find where are you at on social media and whatnot?
I'm on Twitter at _ Chris Garcia because there's 10 million Chris Garcias, and then on Instagram it's Rad Tuna. Rad Tuna, which is my I had a white trash neighbor when I was a kid, and he had a speedboat up on blocks called Rad Tuna, and so I was like, Chris Garcia is taken, but I was like, oh, I'll use Rad Tuna. But it was just a fucking Danny McBride ass dude who just had a speedboat on blocks, and that's what it was called. So
I've actually so many times when I've seen like a post of yours or like when I see Rad Tuna, I always fucking so many images of just like a guy eating tuna being like Rad Tuna, or like an actual tuna, like people on a fishing ship or a boat. Like a chartered fishing trip, like a tuna jumping out of the water. It's got like a mohawk. It's like Rad Tuna. Rad Tuna. So many. But and wait, don't you have like I know you have an album.
Yeah.
What's it called?
laughing and crying and laughing at the same time. That's what it's called.
Exactly.
I have a podcast that came out last year,
right?
That I really am proud of, with WNYC, called Scattered, and it was about it's a really cool. It's 6 episodes. It's about, my dad's always been the centerpiece of my act, and he died, and his last wishes were to be scattered in Cuba. So it's like all about his life and Cuban history, and it's funny, and my mom's hilarious. And last year, Time and the Atlantic and all these
I remember
called it like one of the 10 best podcasts of last year.
That's fantastic.
And 6 episodes, but check it out.
Wait, did in there, I mean, is this a spoiler if I ask, but like, did you guys actually go to do it?
We go to do it, and it's not totally a spoiler, but you kind of see it. I mean, when you listen, you're like, okay, they're probably gonna do this, even though my mom is not sure of it at the beginning. But we did it this time last year, and it was fucking bonkers and the coolest, most fulfilling experience of my life. It was really, because you went to Cuba for a bachelor party, I remember.
I did, exactly. There's how, like, you went to go do this really symbolic thing.
I went to go honor my family, not my friend Chad or whatever.
You know what was funny about my trip to Cuba? The bachelor's name is Darius, and he's the only one because he's Persian Spanish. He's the only one of us who could speak Spanish.
Oh wow!
Like fluently, anyway. But what was extra funny is, he's very fluent in Spanish. He would be just talking to Cubans and occasionally would like chuckle or laugh and then look to one of us and in English be like, it's like talking to a guy from Boston. Like, Cuban accent is just so different than any accent I've ever really heard. It's like its own thing.
It's real pronounced. It's real funky and it's real fast. But
no, I'm definitely gonna check that out because I also like what you're saying, the idea of like a podcast miniseries, like a little piece of art storytelling. That's pretty badass. And I remember I loved your story about your dad on This American Life. It was very just like, fuck, like that's the only way I could say it. That's how I could describe it. Like, not even a word, just an emotional feeling. So like, check that out and check out the Scattered, the podcast, and follow Chris, follow the Rad Tuna. Yeah. He is one of the best people you'll ever know.
Good to see you, man. Good to see your face in this little box, and good to hear your voice and everything. You're just always so funny, and I don't know. You deserve it all. You're just so great.
We
forever fan here, buddy.
We deserve it all. The people. All right. Hey, thanks, Chris.
Love you. No problem. Nice to meet you again.
Great meeting you. This was super fun.
All right.
How do you drop the boyfriend bomb? Cause you're a bitch if you do it when he's only said hey. You're a tease if you do it after he's made his play. You're a flirt if you leave him alone in any way. You're a whore if you screw him for money. There's just no good way to do it. Like, we get backlash every time. So I figure, let's hit him back. Hold out and wait until after the 3rd date. Don't drop that bomb until you've met his mom. Just don't disclose it until after he proposes. Keep that shit buried until after you're married. And then be like, I have a boyfriend. And yes, I can hear all the men in my comment section screaming right now, but there's no good way of dropping the boyfriend bomb.